to hear, and I'm sure people will slowly trickle in as we keep going. So my name is Danielle. I am a recruiter here at the University of Alberta, and I'm joined by my colleague Teo. We also have a couple of current students here with us today that we're going to hear from a little bit later on, and you're going to be able to ask any questions that you have to, within reason, of course. So welcome again, like I said, to our transfer student series, Your Life on Campus. A little bit of housekeeping. You're going to see that there's a Q&A function at the bottom of your screen. It looks like a little chat bubble with question mark in it typically for all of you. That's what you're going to have access to ask any questions that you have. You can ask them throughout the presentation, but please, I would say, wait until closer to the end, as you're going to hear from our students, ask them questions specifically, and then any questions about the material that's in the presentation. Things that we're not going to be covering today are things like transfer credit assessments, admission timelines, all of those kinds of fun things. If you have questions about those, then we will put an email out on the screen for you to email us any questions that you have about a personal nature. So please wait for that to come up at the end. So today we're going to go over things like health and wellness, academic supports, campus and community recreation facilities and activities, our 400 plus student groups and campus events. We're not going to go over all of 400 student groups, but we'll give you a little highlight of what those are. And then you're also going to hear from our current students, like I said, about their experience transferring to the U of A or within faculties at the U of A as well. So I'm just going to jump right into it. So firstly, I just want to start off by acknowledging the territory that we are on here at the University of Alberta as Treaty 6 territory. We respect the histories, languages, and cultures of First Nations, Métis, Inuit, and all First Peoples of Canada whose presence continues to enrich our vibrant community today. So I'm just going to start off with some of the yes, not well, I was going to say more important, but not necessarily to you. It depends on what you define as importance. But we have lots of different types of wellness services on campus to support you while you are a student here. So some of those include counseling and clinical services. They offer mental health workshops, seminars that help you learn about different mental health topics, and you get to interact with mental health professionals and peers in those group workshops. Examples of these are like managing stress, setting boundaries, communicating assertively, learning to relax. We all need that one, I think, every once in a while. Other things that are offered are counseling and clinical services. So they actually offer psychological treatment services to students at the University of Alberta, typically using short-term therapy. And this intention is to kind of help students cope with situations that might impact your current level of mental health or illness, to assist you in functioning successfully during your university experience. So this can involve like meeting with a counselor, a mental health clinician, sharing your reasons for support and things like that. We also have a health center and pharmacy on campus right in our student union building. So if you're feeling unwell or it's time for just your annual check-in, we have physicians and nurses that are at our university health center to answer any questions that you have regarding your health journey. So typically it's a walk-in clinic, and you can drop in throughout the day, as well as book some appointments from time to time. Things that are offered here are family medicine, sexual health services, immunization, and nutrition consultations. And like I said, they're conveniently located in our student union building. And it's also super close to a full-service pharmacy as well, dedicated to serving all students and staff at the University of Alberta. I use these services quite a bit when I was in university. It's easy to get sick when you're around all these people and in high-stress situations. So I definitely access the clinic services as well as the pharmacy while on campus. It's super convenient. It's super great to have right at your fingertips. Something else that is one of our top priorities is your academic success. So we have lots of different academic supports on campus, including our Academic Success Center that provides professional academic support to help you maximize your academic success and achieve your goals. So they offer appointments, advising, group workshops, online courses, and specialized different programming year-round to students in all university programs and at all levels of achievement and study. They also offer different learning strategies, group settings, time management, studying, note-taking, exam prep, communication, presentation skills, all of the things that you need to succeed in your time and in your classes here at the U of A. They also offer writing support services. So something that I struggled with for sure in university was academic writing. I write like I talk, which sometimes is not the best thing. And writing scientific papers and things like that did not bode well for my writing style. So getting help through the Writing Services Center and enhancing those skills was really beneficial to me in my university career as well. Other things that are offered is we have accessibility and accommodation services. So accommodations are typically for students who encounter medical and or non-medical restrictions to your ability to perform daily activities to pursue studies at a post-secondary institution. They may be due to physical and mental disabilities or a variety of non-medical protected grounds. If you require accommodations and accessibility services, reaching out to them earlier rather than later is the best thing to do. So if you have been admitted, you're not yet admitted, but you have an application in, reach out to them and see what there is available for you in your situations. They're usually really good at offering advising sessions and chatting out the different options that are typically available to students in these situations. We also have our Decima Robinson Center for Mathematics and Statistical Sciences, so help with like our intro calculus classes, linear algebra, stats classes, all of that fun stuff. The center is staffed by graduate students, so they can offer you one-on-one help, help with homework, drop-in help, all of that kind of stuff, even exam study sessions for certain classes, and a pre-calculus program for students that are looking to kind of like refresh their skills to get ready for calculus class through different seminars as well. Okay, some of you might be moving from out of town, out of Edmonton, and need to live in residence. So one thing I will say is if you apply to live in residence before April 30th, so you have 1 month, you are guaranteed a spot in residence. Even as an upper year transfer student, you're not going to necessarily be placed into the first year housing like Lister Hall, Peter Lucky Hall. You're not going to be placed in those. You're going to have access to more studio 1, 2, 4, and 6 bedroom apartments. So as long as you apply before April 30th, application fee is $25. You will be given a spot to live on campus. These things include like laundry facilities. You have a voluntary meal plan. So if cooking is like not your thing, then you can opt into a meal plan, pay for that, and just like head to the cafeteria, grab some food, go to class kind of situation. You don't have to opt into the voluntary meal plan as an upper year student, so that is totally optional to you. All of the units that are bedroom apartments that you have access to are equipped with stoves, ovens, refrigerator, freezer. Your bedroom itself is lockable and comes with its own bed and mattress and bed frame. Also has storage, desk, chair. Living room furniture is also provided in the general common spaces within these apartment areas as well. You can do a full tour of the different available apartment styles at the uab.ca/residence link that's on the screen there, and also check out the different prices of those as well. So definitely check that out if living on campus is something that is needed or wanted by you. Okay, so now we're gonna jump into more fun stuff. I'm gonna pass it over to my colleague Teo, who's gonna go over a bunch of different ways to recharge between classes, get involved on campus, and join all of the different fun things that we have. So I'm gonna pass it right on over to Teo.
Yeah. Hi, everyone. My name is Teo. I'm also a recruiter here at the University of Alberta. The first thing that I kind of wanted to talk about today is CCR, or Campus Community Recreation. So CCR, or Campus Community Recreation, is in charge of broadly like leading all of the sports and recreation-based initiatives on campus. So they organize and run our intramural sports. We actually have a really big intramural sport programming. So we have intramural sports in badminton, basketball, dodgeball, ball hockey, soccer, volleyball, and even inner tube water polo, which if you haven't tried it, is actually very fun. I would definitely recommend. They're also really, really good at making sure that our intramural sports are accessible to all different genders and levels of experience. So we offer recreation and advanced-based levels in all of our categories. So in mixed, open, and women's only leagues, which is really, really awesome. They also offer a wide variety of like scheduled instructional programming. So these are typically going to be like a few months long. And they're going to be more like class-based. So you could learn how to swim. You could become like a lifeguard, like a national lifeguard. You learn how to boulder, top rope. You could take a yoga class. When I was at school, I took a West African dance class, which was really, really cool. So yeah, thoroughly recommend checking out all of the different things that Campus Community Recreation offers. But perhaps like scheduled programming or like team sports isn't necessarily your thing. You can also go ahead and check out all of our drop-in different recreation opportunities, whether that be in the Butterdome, main gym, or even on South Campus. I know that there's a lot of drop-in opportunities as well. So you can like reserve courts for racquetball or squash. You can play pickup sports in like a variety of different things like basketball, soccer. I've even seen like badminton pickup stuff, which I hadn't necessarily seen before. And you can play against a wide variety of other different University of Alberta students, which is it's an awesome way to get involved and meet different people on campus. But maybe sports and things like that isn't necessarily something that you're interested in. Or like playing sports, I should say, isn't necessarily something that you're interested in. You can also get involved by supporting the Golden Bears or Pandas, which is the University of Alberta's varsity teams. So you can cheer on our home teams by wearing green and gold at all of our home games, and students actually get free admittance into all regular season conference games. So it's like a really cool way to get involved and support the campus community, and also meet a bunch of different really cool people at the same time. Now, if we do have any like athletes in the crowd and you're interested in becoming a varsity athlete, you can always contact the coach about that situation. Interested in becoming like a bear or panda, you would go to uab.ca/bear panda, and that would be the best way to get in contact with the specific coach of that team. Now, with that being said, getting involved on campus is definitely not limited to our athletics or like our recreation facilities or anything like that. You can also find your community by joining one of our 450 plus different student-run groups on campus, which is a lot. So you can join something from like Alpha Gamma Delta all the way to like a hide and seek club. So there's literally something for everyone. And if you don't find something that you're interested in, you can always start your own club, which is really, really cool. Yeah. So with over 450 different student groups on campus, there's definitely going to be something that you're going to find that's going to fit your interests. So there's things like charity groups, recreational groups, faculty-specific groups like the Business Finance Association. There's dance groups on campus, and you just really get to meet a wide variety of different students and people that have similar interests to you by getting involved with these groups. They can also be like a really, really cool way to let off some steam and things like that. If you are maybe focusing on classes a little bit too much, as we all do, they can be like a nice welcome distraction to these kind of things. So each of these groups is going to host a multitude of events throughout the year. So for instance, like the Advocating for Children's Education group hosted multiple different book drives throughout different local schools. The Climbing Club is going to host like weekly meetups and special events for people of all levels to join. And then something more specific, like faculty specific, like the Business Finance Association is going to host things like networking events where you get to meet industry professionals and become more in tune with the actual industry itself and really work on building those connections and potentially like build opportunities for future internships and things like that. So yeah, really what I'm trying to say is that getting involved with different student groups is an absolutely key way to get involved and meet different people with like-minded interests on campus, which is very, very cool. Now I think we're going to break into a little video about campus. Yeah, so that just kind of gives you a little bit of insight into what was going on campus. Now, a lot of these things that were shown in the videos weren't necessarily like student group run or weren't necessarily recreation-based things, but they were actually campus events, right? So the University of Alberta hosts a wide variety of different events, which are available to every single University of Alberta students. So one would be something like Chilling for Charity, which is an event that's organized by a student group, actually of the Faculty of Business. And in this event, students are going to take a cold plunge in the pool right in the middle of like the main quad, which is like one of the main hangout spaces on campus. And it's going to be in the middle of winter. So this, alongside a bunch of other different fundraising opportunities like burger nights, community service activities, and a lot of other different things, actually led their campaign to raise nearly $500,000 for United Way. And United Way, if you don't know, is an organization that helps vulnerable members of society progress from poverty to prosperity. Another way that you can get involved and be immersed in these kind of events is actually through faculty events. So one of the largest events is actually called Gear Week. Gear Week is a yearly event held during the second week of January, and that's going to celebrate the culture and diversity of engineering students over the last 100 years. And so really the goal of this event is to foster a sense of community and pride in students. And in the event, each of the different engineering students and engineering disciplines are going to be represented and split into teams, and really these teams are going to compete to see effectively just who comes out on top. Another event that like I used to get involved in all the time, actually still do get involved in because alumni are allowed to get involved in them, is the Campus Cup. It is a dodgeball tournament, and when I tell you it is huge, I mean it. Like there is hundreds and hundreds of teams. It takes up all of our gyms throughout campus, and it's a dodgeball tournament. So there's a wide variety of categories. And yeah, just a really, really cool way to get involved on campus. Another really cool one that I did a few times is Red Eye, which again is like an athletics-based one, which is really cool. Effectively what it is a overnight or 24-hour long sports tournament, like variety sports tournament, so that you could do a whole bunch of different sports. When I was there, we did like anything from handball to cricket, and really you just play against a whole bunch of different teams, meet a bunch of really cool people on campus, and it's a really cool way to get involved. And then the last one that I just wanted to shout out is some of the different international events. I used to work for the International Student and Visitor Service Center at the University of Alberta. So they run weekly events, things like the English Conversation Club. If we have any international students in the call that are interested in building their speaking skills in English, it's a really, really cool opportunity. And they even take students to Banff, Jasper, Drumheller. You get to explore all of Alberta, and they even take you on a ski trip, which is really, really fun. Yeah, so basically, there's a whole wide variety of different ways that you can get involved on campus. And that isn't necessarily limited to just athletics or CCR, although those are great ways to get involved. But campus events, campus-wide events are a really cool way to get involved, meet a bunch of different people that come from like diverse backgrounds but have similar interests to you. And I thoroughly recommend all of you get involved in the campus community as many ways as possible.
Perfect. Thanks, Teo.
Mm-hmm.
I went to everything that offered a free t-shirt or free food in university. So definitely take advantage of the free things that they hand out at every single event. Okay. We are going to move on to our student panel. So we have two students here. We have Kira, who transferred from Concordia University, and then we have Aruba here, who transferred between faculties at the U of A. So both have some transfer experience and what that looks like, just slightly different. This is your chance as our participants here on our call today, is to ask these students whatever you want to know as a transfer student. Maybe I will let Kira and Aruba kind of introduce themselves and their experiences on campus, and then we can wait for any questions to come in. We'll say if Kira, Aruba, whoever wants to go first, just jump on in.
Hi everyone, my name is Aruba and I'm in my fourth year of an elementary education degree, and I transferred into education after my second year of university. I was still in University of Alberta, but I was in the Faculty of Agricultural Life and Environmental Sciences, and I was studying nutrition and food science.
Hi everyone, my name is Kira. I'm in my fourth year of Bachelor of Science in Psychology. I transferred from Concordia University of Edmonton, going into my third year of university. So I started my third year at the U of A, and I switched from a biology degree at Concordia to a psych degree at the U of A.
We have our first question here for Kira. What were some of the biggest aspects of the U of A that made you glad that you transferred?
For me, I guess like just the size of the university. The Concordia was a very small university. It was a great school, but I just wanted something that had a little bit more variety for me with what I was interested in, and I found that the U of A was able to give me that. So it was really great for me, and I have had so many different classes I've had to take that have been really fun, and I really enjoy them.
Maybe for Aruba, what was something that made you excited to transfer faculties?
So when I got to university, I wasn't really sure 100% of what I wanted to do. So I initially wanted to be a chef, but that plan didn't really work out. So I chose the next closest thing, which was nutrition and food science. But 2 years in, I was like, this is not for me. So I applied to education, and I'm glad I had the option to do that. And I was lucky enough to have all of my credits transferred over. So I just started like in third year of education. So my degree only extended by 1 semester.
Um, okay. This is a good one. Is it harder to make friends and people like get to know people that you get along with when you transfer schools mid-degree?
Find that there was much of a difference. I think it was a little bit tough whether I was starting off in my first year at the other institution or starting off at the U of A. But my biggest thing is just to introduce yourself to the people around you in class and everything. Everyone's really nice. I've never had a bad experience with anyone on campus. So that's how I've made a lot of friends. Is I just introduce myself to the person next to me in class, and that's really helped build connections on campus.
One for Aruba. I think this person's interested in the same program. So how are you liking the program, and what are some specific things you enjoy about the program?
I think it's great. Also, volunteering as a student ambassador and working with bigger groups of students made me realize that I actually like working with people and with kids especially. So that's what made me kind of think about picking Bachelor of Education. But so far, it's been going great. Currently, I'm doing my practicum, and yeah, that's nice. I'm enjoying it. I also love the community in the Faculty of Education. Everybody's just so supportive, and there's no competition. So it's very easy to reach out and ask for help.
I love that. For Kira, how did you find the transfer process coming from an external institution?
I found the transfer process to be very simple and stuff. And then if I was having difficulties, it was really easy to get help and get those issues resolved. So I found the process to be very smooth. Everyone was very helpful when I did need help with things. So I found it a very smooth process, and everything worked out really well.
Um,
I have another one here. How was it, if you guys have done it, to balance kind of your schedules in terms of enrolling in like a full-time course load and things like that?
I've consistently taken 5 courses since my first year, and I was also working part-time after. I would say it was definitely more difficult in nutrition and food science, more manageable in education because you get to choose a lot more electives, which I think is nice. But yeah, definitely manageable. And if you think you're ever having issues or if you're ever finding it too hard, there's advisors that you can reach out to. They're always there to help you. So yeah, that's always an option, reaching out and asking for help.
Same thing. I've taken 5 or 4 classes most semesters, depending on what classes I need to take, and I think it's very manageable. You just kind of have to make sure that like you know when your classes are and everything else that you have to do. So I use a lot of like different scheduling things like Google Calendar to make sure like I have everything down, and that really helped me.
that's a great suggestion, using different areas for scheduling. I love that. Okay, kind of two that go together here are what are for Kira specifically, but also Aruba as well. You can add any thoughts you have about this. What were some of your most difficult challenges in having transferred to a new campus or to a new program? And how did you manage that stress or those challenges?
Yeah, for sure. So I think the biggest thing with the change was the size of the campus and having to learn like a whole bunch of new buildings and stuff. You probably have, if you've been around U of A before, you probably have heard the thing that U of A actually stands for University of Acronyms because there are a lot of them. So that was a big challenge as well to learn all the different acronyms for all the buildings and stuff. So it was stressful the first week that I was on campus and everything. But what I did before school started and before it got really busy is I actually went and I learned where all my classes were, tried to like map out how to get there and stuff. And then once I got into school and if I had like free time and stuff, I would go around and walk around and explore campus. So that's kind of how I decrease the stress on it, is just kind of by exploring campus. And I found that you do pick it up quite fast because you are taking like similar routes every day, and then you meet new people and you're like, oh well, this person can help me get here, or oh, I didn't know that this existed, so now I know. And it helps when you kind of explore and do things on your own.
One, I think Aruba already kind of touched on it, but did you work throughout your degree? And I guess do you have any tips in terms of managing time and stuff between working and studying at the same time?
You really need to be on top of your time management stuff because definitely gets hard when you're taking 5 courses and then you also have work in the evenings, like working on those assignments and just studying in general does get hard. But also definitely manageable. But also I would recommend taking 3 to 4 courses during your first couple years, see how you like that, and then if you can take on that extra course load, you can always drop courses. You can add them for like some period of time. But it worked for me, and a lot of my friends work also, so you can do it.
I agree as well. I work a lot during the school year and everything, so having good time management and just making sure that you're on top of everything and when things are due is really important as well.
Yeah, having that set schedule where you know when things are due, so you're not running behind on things.
Did either of you live on campus?
I did not know.
No? Okay, I can kind of touch on this one. I lived on campus. I moved from Victoria, BC to Edmonton. I lived in first year residence, so I don't really know what the apartment style residences are, so definitely check out uab.ca/residence to check out the different like tours and things that they have and layouts and stuff like that. I loved living in residence. I got to meet a lot of really cool people. Everybody was in the same kind of like headspace as I was, so it was really cool that way. It was always you had peers to chat with about different experiences that you were having. class questions, homework questions if they were in similar programs or taking the same classes. So it was a great support system while I was on campus, especially in the transition. My transition was right out of high school, but similar for you, having those people around that are in a similar situation or kind of maybe know what's going on already because maybe they've been at the U of A for a couple years, they can help you and support you in that.
One for Kira. How would you describe the classroom dynamic throughout your degree? And I think both of us, or anyone can touch on this, but like specifically when there are like differing opinions and things like that going on in discussion.
I think um classroom environment in certain classes, it's just about being mindful of everyone and allowing like everyone to like speak and voice their opinion in that class. All the classes that I've been that have been like discussion based have all been very like insightful. Like everyone's very respectful and everything. The professors are very respectful, and it's just a good environment and stuff. And a lot of professors do leave it open for like debate and stuff. They don't let it get too heated, but it is like everyone's very respectful of each other in the classroom.
Yeah, I agree with that, but I would also like to add that universities where you get introduced to a lot of new perspectives and point of views, so it's good to see those. It's not like a debate, but you just get to see other people's point of views and how they think, which I think is really nice.
Okay, there's a couple questions about like moving between different buildings or different classes. Did you find it difficult to make it to classes on time? Any advice for navigating campus or anything like that?
For getting between classes, it definitely depends on where they are. Like, so you definitely have to look at where your classes are. Like, if you're going from humanities to ECA, that's like a really far walk. So, like, humanities is in like one corner of campus, and like ECA is like in the other corner. So, like, being mindful of that. I do think it is manageable to get to your classes and everything. When it's like a further distance, you just have to like speed walk a little bit, and then also be mindful that there are a lot of students getting out of classes at the same time. One thing I like to utilize when I did have to do like a walk from humanities to ECA was the pedways. So the pedways are a very useful way to get around campus without actually having to like cross the street and wait for a light. So that's a big thing as well because you can just kind of like walk through the pedway and like get right to your classes. The other thing you can do is when I first started going to the U of A, if you look up like U of A like campus map, you can like look up the different buildings on there and then kind of like look where one is compared to the other and then like kind of try to map out a route. And then like the first few times you go to class, you might find like going like a different way to see like which way is faster. I had to do that this semester for one of my classes and eventually I found a way that was like pretty quick and I could get to my class on time.
For my first 2 years, for my science classes, they were all over campus, like different corners and stuff. So I agree with the pedways. They're super important, especially when it's super cold outside. Yeah, definitely picking classes so they have a little bit of gap between them so you can get to your classes easier instead of having like a 10-minute gap so you're trying to rush to get to your other class. Definitely have to do that at some point, but would not recommend it. And then in education, all of the classes were in one building, which was nice. So yeah, all of the classes now are in the same building. But yeah, pedways are super important. And then I also saw the question about remembering how to get to classes. I was on Google Maps every single day for a month straight. So, and then you kind of get a hang of it.
I also always recommend in terms of getting around campus, knowing your way around campus. I love the hide and seek club because they do there's a thing called Week of Welcome, and literally on Week of Welcome they pick a different building and you play hide and seek throughout that building. So really you're kind of forced to learn your way around campus and learn your way around the specific building. So I will always shout out the hide and seek club because I did that in my first year and it actually orientated myself very well with campus.
I love that. I think I have a question here on the residence question that I answered. Did I rent afterwards? This person moved from Vancouver to Calgary and now possibly to Edmonton. I did. So I lived in residence for my first 2 years and then I moved out of residence and just rented a house with a bunch of people that I met in residence. So then I moved from one house to the next house. I lived in an apartment for a year. I moved everywhere. I think I was moving every single year for about 7 years. So not super fun in that sense, but I mean, renting afterwards was pretty easy. There's a lot of people in and around the campus community that are renting houses. A lot of people that rent around the U of A are renting to students typically. You can find places that have 8-month contracts. So you don't have to stay in the summer. You can find places that have year-long contracts so you can stay during the summer. It's just up to you and what your situation is. But there's lots of options available out there. And if you live like on a train line or a bus line, that's also super easy as well because your transit pass is included in your tuition. So you get free transit around, not free, it's included in your tuition, but you get transit around city. So definitely it's easy to find places to live, I'll say. One for Kira. Did you find the transition easier since you went from science to science, even though maybe you switched different programs?
I found the transition probably a bit easier because when I was a bio major, I was actually a psych minor. So I found the transition quite easy. I still love bio and stuff, but psych was just a little bit more what I wanted to do. So I don't really know if it was like easy switching from like science to science because I did enjoy both. It just psych was a little bit more what I was wanting to do. So
Any other tips and tricks in scheduling classes, or is it just finding what works best for you?
I would say finding what works best for you. As I was saying earlier, kind of starting off with those 3 classes because that's like a good number. You're still a full-time student, but it's not too overwhelming. And then yeah, you can always add on to it. Like you can check out the first week, see how you feel about it, add on a few classes, drop them if you feel like, especially if you're working, it might be a better idea to not be taking 5 courses because that can be a lot. But if it works for you, like everybody's different, everybody has different routines, so it could work.
I agree with that. Finding what works for you as well, especially with like class times. Like I know I'm not much of a morning person, so I like to schedule my classes like for a little bit of a later start than an earlier start. But that may be different for some people. Some people like to get their classes out of the way, but for me, I like having them a little bit later in the day, and then just working around like other things that you have to make sure that you still have time for those as well is also important.
I think any one of you guys can answer this question, but would you say it's easy to find places to rent or things like that in specific seasons, or is it generally easy throughout the whole year?
I would say it's pretty easy overall. It does get pretty busy like right before classes start because everybody's trying to find places to live. So like setting that up sooner rather than later is usually pretty good. But there's lots of options. So definitely just look around, find different areas, and have a couple different options on the go before you make a decision. Well, this is a good one for course registration. Would you recommend having all of your classes on 2 days of the week, for example, like Tuesday and Thursday? The students thinking about taking 4 and planning on working full time. So like what would you recommend having them all on 2 days or kind of spreading them out?
I think it really depends on how much you can put in a day to classes. Like right now, I have my classes Monday, Tuesdays, and Thursdays, and I really enjoy that. But I also have 2 online classes with like 3 in-person classes, so it's a little bit easier to manage. But that's how I set up my schedule actually for next year is having classes only on Tuesdays and Thursdays. So if you think it's doable for yourself and everything, I think you can go ahead and do it. But if you think having things a little bit more spread out is a little bit better for you, then spreading them out might be good as well.
I agree with that, and it's also finding what works for you best because I like having my classes spread out. But if you are planning on working full time, that Tuesday Thursday option might be nicer. I just so I tutor in the evenings, so it was kind of nice for me to have all my classes in the morning, and then I had every weekend free to work, which I found kind of nice. And then yeah.
Did either of you work on campus? No, that's
No.
okay because I did. So yeah, I think I mentioned I worked for the International Center, so the University of Alberta International, as a student staff as I was doing my degree. So broadly speaking, there are some opportunities for students to get involved and work on campus with different faculties or different just general branches of the University of Alberta. I personally found mine through a internal recommendation and on Campus Bridge. So if you're looking for different options on campus, that's probably what I recommend going for.
Question for Kira on the psych side of things. Do you have any favorite textbooks that you enjoyed the most?
Um, That's kind of tough. A lot of my psych classes don't use textbooks right now. Some of them definitely do. A lot of them use papers though. So I read a lot of papers based on what we're learning in class. So I find those really interesting. So basically you can just look up like any topic you're interested in on the internet and like look up psych papers in relation to, I don't know, like developmental psych. So that's how a lot of our classes work, or the classes that I've taken at least. Right now I'm in social psychology, and the textbook that we're using for that one is really interesting. They cover a bunch of different topics. I'm not quite too sure what it's called, but I think it's just called social psychology. So that's probably one of the only textbooks that's like I've used that's really interesting. So
A question on course registration. Do you find that courses typically fill up and you have to build your schedule around courses that are already full, or would you say that you typically get into courses that you want or need?
I've personally never had that issue. I've always gotten into the courses that I wanted because the first and second year courses, which are more general, usually have a lot more seats than the more advanced courses. And then even for the advanced ones, it's kind of priority based. So if you're in your third or fourth year, you get to sign up first, and then the first and second years get to sign up. I did have an issue for next semester though because I forgot my sign up date, and then I had to sign up 2 days later. But most of the classes were full, so now I'm going to be taking an evening class, which is okay. I'm fine with that. But I would prefer to have in the morning. So yeah, definitely know when your enrollment dates are and stay on top of things.
I find the same thing. I don't think that I've had to like adjust my schedule a ton, but if your classes do fill up, the watch list is definitely your friend. That's how I've gotten into a couple of my classes that I've needed. So you just add it to your watch list, and then Fairtrax will send you a notification if someone drops the class. And sometimes you'll find that closer to like when the semester starts, that's when like people start dropping classes and everything. So I find that you can get into a lot of the classes you need then.
I'm just going to quickly answer some more residence questions. So I have a question here about moving to a different province. This person coming from Ontario. It was a lot of emotions, I will say that, moving to a different province. At the time I was doing it, I was 18. No family was coming with me. They all stayed in BC. I was by myself in Edmonton. I found my community here that living in residence really helped with that. And then really chatting with students, like in my lab classes, it was a lot easier because they were smaller. There wasn't like a bunch of people around, things like that. So like finding people to connect with on campus, joining clubs, joining the ambassador program, just getting involved was definitely a really good way to kind of get to know other people. And then in terms of residence applications, yes, as long as you apply by the deadline of April 30th, you're guaranteed a spot. You can still apply even though you don't have an offer of admission. So as long as you've submitted an application, then you can apply for residence. So that is not a problem. Just head into the residence webpage and all of it will be there.
I will answer this one so quickly. Do you need to live on campus to work on campus? No, you do not. I did not live on campus and I worked on campus. But there are definitely opportunities for you to live on campus and also work on campus. For Aruba, what was your experience like switching specific programs at the University of Alberta? And did you find the process difficult?
The transferring process when I applied, I was a bit worried if I was going to get in or not. And it was kind of hard to think about like what if I had to continue in nutrition and food science when I wasn't really feeling it that way. But I'm glad that worked out. I also had to write the Casper test, so there's a couple of extra things that you need to keep in mind when you are applying to transfer. But I think the transition was pretty easy, especially because I was able to transfer all my credits over, so I wasn't adding per se another year or two to my degree. It was just more like a continuation. I already had my prereqs and everything done, so it was just building on the more advanced courses in education. Yeah.
Oh, I like this one. Kira, did you find anything especially overwhelming in transferring to a new school?
Um, like I said before, like the size of the campus was definitely overwhelming. Probably also something that you get used to eventually, like for the first few days, is like the size of the classes. So at my former institution, class sizes were really small. Classes at the U of A are very small, but when you're taking like first and second year courses, those classes tend to be a bit bigger. But then once you get into your upper years, your class sizes like really drop back down to like those low levels of about like 30 per people. So like first day walking into like a lecture hall of 200 students for like a 200 level class was definitely a bit overwhelming. But then I got used to it for sure. And then like the 300 and 400 classes that I've taken like last semester and this semester, the class sizes have been very small. Like I just finished a class that was I think 15 people in total. So but you get used to it eventually.
For any events that you joined, are there like specific first year events that maybe you joined as a transfer student, anything like that, or anything that you joined in your first year on campus that might be of relevance to these students?
Yeah, so one thing that I did when I first was on campus is I knew a couple of people on campus. I didn't know a ton, but I joined intramural sports, which was really fun. So those run in like the fall and the winter, and they have like a variety of different sports. So in the fall term, I did something called sports mix. So we went out every week and we played like a different sport. Like one week was floor hockey, then the next week was like Quidditch. So it was really fun, and you get to learn a bunch about new people. You get to meet a bunch of new people from different teams and different programs. And then in the winter term, we did soccer, which was also really fun because then you get to meet a whole bunch of new other people, and it just like builds that connection with others.
I like this one about specific seat in a class. Do you usually sit towards the back, closer to the front? Is there a good place to sit in a class, especially in like the 200 plus people classes? What are your preferences?
I like to sit closer to the front, so I'm paying attention.
I like to sit kind of in the middle, and then there are certain lecture halls that have like seats to one side, a staircase, middle, and then stairs, and then seats to the other side. I prefer to sit on the on the left side of the classroom, kind of in the middle, like on an end seat. Yeah, it's very specific, but that's kind of where I like to sit. So
I love that. What is the number one thing that you like about the U of A that you would tell somebody else who is thinking of coming, or advice that you would give somebody else in transferring or moving or anything like that?
For me, it would be the opportunities that it provides. The first thing being having the ability to transfer and having those options where if you're not liking something, you can actually do something else. There's always something that you would like, and as he was mentioning about the clubs, like there's always something that you can join. There's always ways to find friends and meet new people. You can do like a bunch of stuff for professional development as well, like joining the ambassador program, volunteering for a week of welcome. There's just so much that is offered to you as a student, and it's up to you to take advantage of that.
I agree. Definitely, like all the clubs that you can get involved with and like all the different ways you can get involved with on campus is really awesome. Also for me, like the variety in courses and like the amount of courses you can take even from like different faculties, because you don't have to stay within your faculty for certain electives. So that's like really awesome as well, that you can really like find different interests and like learn about things that you're interested in that just aren't within your degree.
I love that. That was something that drew me to the U of A as well. I did Ukrainian dance for 13 years and I wanted to pursue a science degree. U of A was the only place that said that I could do both. So that was something that definitely drew me here as well. So I love that you said that.
I guess for both of you, do you have friends that are in different years of their programs and different steps of their journey? And how do you find interacting with people at different steps of their degree?
I met my close friends through the ambassador program, and one of them has graduated. Two of them are younger than me, like a year below me, and then some of them are around my age. But I think, yeah, we have common interests, and that's how you meet people and make friends. So it's not really about like who's in your faculty or who's in the same year as you. It's just who you connect with, who you click with. So yeah, definitely like when you join the clubs and stuff, you're gonna meet people from like there's people in their master's program and their PhDs. So yeah, you kind of meet people from all over the place.
Yeah, I know a couple people in different degrees who are younger than me that are like my friends that I play women's soccer with, and they also go to the U of A, and I really enjoy it. It's fun to be able to have different people on campus that you can like sit with or like talk with as well, especially from different programs. Because I learn a lot from like my friends that are in different programs. I'm like, oh, I never knew that. That's like so cool. So it like also gives you an opportunity to learn about different things from different people. And at the end of the day, like everyone's kind of like minded. Everyone's there to like study and like learn. So it's really awesome.
Yeah, I can take this next one. It is basically asking if there's any age limits in terms of joining intramurals or campus clubs, things like that. Broadly speaking, no, there's not. My personal favorite story to tell about this is that I won the soccer intramurals playing on the same team as my mom and my dad. So there is absolutely no age limits required. You can be of any age you want as long as you are in the campus community. You're totally allowed to play.
I love that. Okay. Now that we are in our last few minutes, I'm going to close out the questions here. Thank you everybody for submitting your questions. I think we had some great questions in there today. If you have a question that you desperately need answered, that you did not get answered, I will put up a contact info on a slide. Just give us 2 seconds to get there. Okay. So firstly here, there are some other things that you can do. So we had a lot of registration questions. There is a great website that was created by all of our faculty recruiters that has all the different registration modules, how to register, what to look for, how to find your classes, all that fun stuff at uob.ca/reg101. There's also some faculty-specific registration workshops happening right now, mostly in the virtual stage at this point. They will be very high school specific, but they do go through how to use the system and things like that. So still pertinent to you of that information. We also have virtual advising, so you can book a one-on-one advising session with us at uob.ca/advising. We have faculty-specific advising as well as transfer-specific advising. So definitely go check that out. Any events that are coming up that are virtual events like this one will be posted at uob.ca/recruitment events, or check your email because we're always emailing you all the fun things. So if there's anything that's coming up that is pertinent to you and your status with us, then we will send you an email probably about it to register for an event. This is our contact slide. So please, please, please email us. If you did not get your question answered and it was really important that it needed to be answered, please let us know. It is myself, Teo, and our colleague Kaylee that are answering those emails. So you know what our faces look like. Other than Kaylee, she's great. She's amazing. We love her so much. But all of us will be answering your emails. So please just let us know what your questions are. If we don't have the answer, we will direct you to the place that has the answers. We thank you so much for joining us. Thank you to Kira. Thank you to Aruba. You guys are lovely. So nice to have some transfer students here to chat with other transfer students. Thank you to everybody for joining us this evening. We hope that you got something out of this. We will be hosting future events, so please look out for future events. And we look forward to connecting with you on campus as well. Have a great night, everybody.